that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, never did by Disney or Lucasfilm, whichever way you want to slice it. Legends. Star Wars Riptide by Paul S. Kemp, the sequel to Cross Current by Paul S. Kemp, which takes place 40 years after New Hope, 41 years, sorry, and focuses on Jaden Korr. Where have we seen Jaden Korr before? From the video game Jedi Academy. Also with his two new friends that we met in the last book, Mar, who is now his apprentice, he's Assyrian, which of course is the race of the Kiadamundi race, the big coneheads, and Kedron, a human, as they go to stop clones. Because in the last book we found out about a Grand Admiral Thrawn era, so like pretty close after the films era of clones of Jedi, like Cam Solusar and Jaden Korr and other people. But Jaden Korr's clone from that place is called Soldier, and they just want to live a normal life because he has a daughter, because they were there for a long time, and he had sex with some other clone, and now he's got a little girl named Grace, and he wants to protect her, but they keep getting these signals, or these, like, mental implants from this thing called Mother that wants to come see them. So they're off to go search for that, and Jaden's there to go stop them. This is a very weird duology. The last one, despite the craziness of it, and time travel shenanigans and whatnot, is relatively straightforward, leaving some mysteries here and there. This is more so. Now I dig it. I'm for it. But this is really out there. It's really out there. This is heading toward old Marvel Comics levels of out there. And it's just really weird. You know the difference, this is coming from me, a Supernatural Encounters lover, my #1 favorite Star Wars book, is that for every weird thing that Supernatural Encounters brings up, first off, it's usually from something else that already existed, or even if it's something original, it's explained, usually. I mean, of course, a good story that wants to retain some mysterious elements will explain things and make it go, oh, but then also add a whole bunch of other things on top of it that leaves mystery regardless. But the mystery here is just strange. But I don't have too many spoilers for you, so I'm just going to talk about a couple things. It's not going to ruin your experience. There are the one Sith still doing stuff. Like, Warlock sends these two Umbaran assassins to follow Jaden. They also send another clone of Jaden. So there's Soldier, who comes from the Thrawn cloning lab. And then the one Sith can just clone people, I guess. And they have a clone of Jaden. So there's two clones of Jaden, plus Jaden himself in this book. Wrap your mind around that one. And I also forgot to mention with Kedron from the last book, that he was a kid during Survivor's Quest, Outbound Flight. I just thought I'd mention that because I forgot to. But yeah, so, and these two Umbaran Sith are like the exile from KOTOR 2, kind of, but not. They are not wounds in the Force, but they serve a similar purpose where they can't be sensed. It's weird. And it's not extremely well explained. They can just do this. They're like Ulysses Amari in people, except that they can use the Force. It's like the Vong plus the Exile plus Ulick, but also not. It's its own thing. It's really weird. And there's this ancient Rakatan facility which houses this thing called Mother, which is an entity that is extremely lonely and is powerful. What does that remind you of? Probably remind you of Abeloth, except that it's not Abeloth. And there's like no explanation for what this thing is. They also harp again on too old. Like, Jaden hollow messages Luke, and Luke's like, well, he's a little too old. You were 18. Stream was like dying and still became like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Why is this a thing? I do like the Rakatan stuff being here because by this point, KOTOR had come out, so they can make those references. But I do think that Supernatural Encounters explain some of this, because there's a section of Supernatural Encounters, because Abeloth didn't only get released one time. She's been released several times, usually in times of great conflict. And Fate of the Jedi is just like one of the last times that it's happened thus far. But there was another time, back when the Rakatans were still alive, and she actually allied with the Rakatans. And she like messed with one of their machines that was filled to the brim with dark side, and like kind of infused her essence in it. Because that's the best I can come up with, because it sounds so much like Abeloth, but isn't. But if it's like a bit of her essence, then I suppose it makes sense that, because one of the key traits of this entity is that it's lonely, which is a key trait in Fate of the Jedi and in Supernatural Encounters, is that Abeloth is lonely. So I don't know. I suppose that's what I mean. There's a lot of stuff. There's 900 pages of information in Supernatural Encounters, and some of it gets jumbled in my mind. But I believe it addresses this, but I don't remember it explicitly. So, but before Supernatural Encounters, like, there is no explanation. It just is this weird thing that exists, and there's no explanation for it or what it is. It just is this extremely powerful thing that I don't even think they kill at the end of it. Do they just leave it there? So, I don't know. Also, at the end, stuff happens with Jaden, and it gets to the point where it kind of ends like the whole Blade Runner question. Is Jaden, or is he a clone? We don't know, really, truly, actually. The story just kind of ends. So I don't know how I feel about that. Like I said, I had fun with it, but it's really weird. The last one is weird, but easier to follow. This was just kind of bizarre and out there. But you know what? Props to it for being unique, because you wouldn't see something like this in Disney Star Wars. Like, it's so out there that it would never happen. So for that being unique, good for it. But in terms of enjoyment, I gotta be honest, it was so out there with so little explanation that it kind of made me check out sometimes. Out of the two, I vastly prefer Cross Current, but they're still fun regardless. I'd still read these 1,000 times over ever reading Bounty Hunter Wars again. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Next we have Millennium Falcon, which is the final book by James Luceno in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. And then we head into the Fate of the Jedi series by Aaron Olston, Christy Golan, and Troy Denning. Till next time, guys. May the Force be with you.